My name is George Chase Jr. I am an entertainer, a performer, musician, and I'm a father and a husband and somebody who hopes that he can leave the world a better place than what it was like when he came into it. I got into music at a pretty young age. My two older brothers loved music, and they played music, they played guitar, and what really sparked it for me was going to see the Phantom of the Opera. I wanted to learn how to play Music of the Night, Phantom of the Opera, I wanted to learn how to play those songs. So the first instrument that I ever played was this old organ that we had in the corner of our living room. It sounded like a sander was going around, and it was enough that I could hear the sounds and hear how notes interacted with each other and learn chords. And so I would just sit down and play one note at a time and play it by ear. And then eventually testosterone was kicking in my system, and I was going through puberty, and Green Day was becoming a big band at the time. I wanted to be Green Day. So I started learning guitar, I started learning bass. It was a really interesting time because not only was I learning how to play the instruments, I was also learning how to hear what the guitar was doing, what the bass was doing, what the drums were doing, what the backing vocals were doing. And so when I eventually started writing my own songs, I had never intended on singing. I didn't think I had a good voice. I didn't think that I was going to be the one who was going to front a band. I just loved writing songs and playing music, and figured people who had better voices than me, they'd be the ones who'd be the front people. When I was in my senior year in high school, I put together a little demo tape. It was 5 acoustic songs. At the time, I didn't have a machine to copy tapes. So what I would do is I would play through these 5 songs with an acoustic guitar and my voice and record it, and then put another cassette and do it again, and put another cassette and do it again, and then would give the tapes out at school. I had friends who told me that a couple songs on there were some of their favorite songs, and they were like, "Oh man, when are you guys playing? I gotta come see your band." And I was like, "I don't have a band, I don't have anything. I'm putting out these songs to my friends, and maybe other people want to play my music or something." So I just wrote Chase on all these little mixtapes that I put out. It just kind of stuck. The name just was this is what's on these tapes already, so let's just call the band Chase. I reached out to the only bassist and the only drummer that I knew. It's pretty intoxicating being on the stage and being the front person and knowing that all eyes are on you. Learning a little bit of how to curb that, how not to talk too much, how to talk enough, how to get into the next song and not have so much dead space in between songs. I learned a lot. It was time to go to college, and I found another drummer, and we just kind of phased the other guy in because I was an 18-year-old coward who didn't want to have the hard conversation with somebody who was a friend. During the transition there where we were switching in and out people, we decided that it really wasn't just Chase anymore. A time that we were recording at a studio, the engineer was like, "Oh, you guys just a 3-piece, huh? That's beautiful. It's just the bare essentials of music. That's our new name. That's it. That's what we're going with, Bare Essentials." It kind of felt like we were evolving past this pop punk stuff, and we're like, okay, we want to give ourselves a little bit different sound. We want to kind of grow up a little bit. We then changed our name to The Defense Rests. Played, I think, 3 shows as The Defense Rests. Unfortunately, all the momentum that we had picked up as Bare Essentials didn't follow us over to The Defense Rests. Social media was still in its early phases, so it was kind of hard to talk to some of the fans and get them out to jumping over to the other page, and it didn't go well. And unfortunately, I also went through some personal tragedy at the time. In about a 1.5 year period, I lost 3 of the most important, influential people in my life, and I didn't want to be on stage anymore. I didn't want to be performing. I didn't want to have to put on a happy face and look like I was having a great time. I just wanted to quit. And so I did. I took 8 years off of being on stage, and it went from being the most important thing in my life to being nothing. Life kind of kicked my ass back into the music lane. So I was working in restaurants at the time, and one of the places that we were doing some catering for was this outdoor music venue. A couple days before this one show that was coming up, the opening act bowed out. And I was like, oh, I can do that. You just need 45 minutes of acoustic, covers and stuff. I can totally do that. Everything going through my mind was just this fear, but I did it, and I got up on stage again, and being on stage just makes me feel like I am living my purpose. So I pretty much took any gig I could get. I played restaurants or bars or wineries, coffee shops. Eventually I knew I wanted to start focusing on my own music, on my originals, and that led to the Sublets. Think about the ways it happened again. I met Daniel and Stefan. They are a wicked rhythm section, and they've been playing in bands for decades before that. I had to step up my game. I realized I'm not as sharp as I still need to be. The first single the Sublets put out was called The Fallout. What's interesting is it was recorded years before we actually released it. We had the music video shot, we had all these other plans, we were going to do this big launch, and then beginning of 2020, the world shuts down. So we finally released it in 2022. It is such a great song. It's my favorite song to perform live. We close almost every show with it. I feel like I should be holding a drink as I talk about happy hours. Happy hours was kind of my therapy. It was during the pandemic and things are shut down and I still wanted to write music. And so I was like, well, maybe if I could call up some of my artist friends and we kind of distance ourselves and we write some music. The first episode, it was rough, but the idea was there. The outline was there. Having some drinks, writing a song in 2 hours. The whole idea behind happy hours isn't about the finished product. It is not about how great the song is or how bad the song is. It's about the process of writing a song and getting to know the artist, getting inside their head as they're writing that song. Writing a song is a fairly personal, intimate experience. So to do that with somebody else that you don't really know is kind of intimidating. It's kind of scary. I was a terrible host. I talked way too much. I had to learn to keep my mouth shut and to highlight the artist and let them show what makes them unique. You should watch happy hour sessions because you will find your next favorite artist on this show. Even if you're not a musician, there is so much to learn from these artists on happy hours. I get to sit and watch them write a song. How amazing is that? My name is George Chase Jr. Watch me on Happy Hour Sessions.